Walk us through a little bit the step-by-step of the investment process at Renegade from the first contact to making and communicating a decision.
Yeah, so the one of the huge benefits of starting something from scratch is that you have a blank slate. I've been in venture for almost 15 years now, and Roseanne for a little bit over 10. And we kind of took the step back and we said, okay, what are the things that we've seen that work that we want to keep, and what are the things that we want to do different? And one thing that we look around and we saw, like, okay, we don't really believe in this idea of like the Midas touch. Yes, pattern recognition is important, but there's like, I know one when I see it. Like, we believe in actually explaining why things happen and also trying to learn from the decisions we make. I mean, there are decades of Nobel laureates writing about decision science and biases and all of that. Like, why don't we use some of it? And so this is one of the things that we really believe, like, okay, how can we learn from the decisions that we're making? Not believing in the Midas touch and try to making everything sort of explainable, leveraging decision science. And then the other piece is around, okay, never before we've had this many breadcrumbs about companies, about markets, about sentiment. I mean, they're everywhere, right? And humans are really bad at understanding or tracking large data points over time and seeing patterns of large data points over time. Humans are really good at relationships and judgment, but like computers are pretty good at patterns and tracking breadcrumbs. So like, let's actually invest in some technology to allow us to see things that will augment the way that we think and the way that we make decisions. So we have a head data engineer that's building a lot of data collection, not only about markets and companies, but also about the way we make decisions. And then the other piece is we work very closely with the PhD in decision science to actually create a bunch of processes to understand, like, really quickly for us, okay, whenever we're looking at a company, what are the things that are most important about that company that you need to understand really fast, because we know founder time is so valuable, right? Like, you need to do diligence on the stuff that really matters for the good and for the bad to understand those things very quickly. And then also, like, how are we learning about the way that we're making decisions? So going back to how we, what's the investment process like? And from an entrepreneur perspective, we're a startup. You get to meet everyone really quickly. We don't have this whole like Monday partner meeting thing. We try to go very organically as opportunities emerge. Like, we just get everybody together and we do all that. And then what we try to do in the background is like try to hone in very quickly on what are the things that we need to spend time on to very well understand this opportunity. Like, let's get to the 80-20 as quick as we can. So we do on our under the hood, we do a lot of pre-mortems. Like, okay, it's 5 years from now, this company succeed. Because of luck, because of skill, what are the things that happened and probability? So we're actually trying to, and then everybody in the team actually answers it, and we do that anonymously. And then we sit down and we talk about, okay, like, what are the things that we're seeing? Are there patterns? And what is something that somebody's saying that is really unique? Like, because that will really kind of shine a light on what questions we need to ask from the entrepreneur, right? For some companies really is, let's understand the market. The product is great. The team is awesome. Go-to-market is great, but like, how's the market changing? What is the velocity of market? So like, we realize very quickly that that's the diligence point that we need to focus on. And we try to get very crisp and tell the entrepreneur, like, okay, we're going to spend time on market. These are the questions we have, and these are the resources we're using. In some companies really is understanding go-to-market. And that is, okay, let's talk to your customers. Let's talk to your VP of sales or whoever is doing go-to-market. Let's go really deeply into pipeline funnel conversion. Let's talk about the metrics. The other stuff, like, we're pretty okay with. So actually honing in on what matters allows us to not only move faster, but also tell the founder, this is where we're spending time and why.
Of our audience, where are you typically coming in at? Check size, just so we can put that, match that.
So we do everything from Series A to Series C. Like, we really don't care about the letters. That's like a cap table issue. It's not like, we really care about that phase of life. Like, does scaling really matter to you? And then we can lead, co-lead, participate. That also we don't care. We're more interested in, okay, how can we create all the reasons to say yes to companies? And check sizes, they range from $2 to $10 million at the moment, and then the traditional model of reserves and all that stuff.
And what are the red flags that you sometimes observe when you're seeing something?
In what dimension? There are many red flags.
What's the one that stands out that's maybe less known or less obvious that is something that you might identify as something that gets you talking internally and gets you concerned?
Yeah. So one thing that we look really quickly and in closely to is cap table, and is there anything funky with the cap table? Mm-hmm. Are the founders unusually diluted? Is there not enough option pool? Because that tells you a little bit about the way the company is built and what are the incentives, and are people motivated to swing for the fence or for the long term. This is not something that stops us from investing, but this is something where we kind of look and see founders that have very, very little ownership, option pool that doesn't exist, or very little, and they need to do a bunch of hiring. All of these things are points for conversation. The other piece that, it's really tricky is around just like unprofitable revenue, meaning your payback is super long. Basically just kind of that is really tough to get over. The other piece too is we're cohorts hawks. We look at decaying cohorts are tough. Because the more you scale, you probably assume that cost of acquisition will not go down, right? As markets get more saturated, it goes up, not down. And then if you see cohorts is getting worse and worse, that's like very, very heavy gravity.